Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Square Vision with
Dirk, Geert,
Mikey and
Tom. And Maikel and I will be your hosts for this time. Each time to come, the other people work their magic behind the scenes.
You betcha!
You can expect a Square Vision every 3 months, that's 4 times in a year, hopefully. And each time there will be a different theme. This time the theme will be
Indie games, definitely. You know, the hard-working kids in the garage boxes or sitting at the desk at their little rooms, typing away, getting some Angry Bird inspiration.
Well, they need their time in spotlight too, Maikel.
Absolutely.
Before we dive right into that, let's first have a short recap of the last 3 months and review a couple of the games that appeared during this period and are worth noting. We will do this every time in a Square Vision, just to keep up with times and what's happening in the game world. So let's get right to it. First off, Dragon Age 2. Dragon Age 2 is BioWare's sequel to the epic original, Dragon Age Origins. And since it's been released, I've heard a lot of people complaining and being disappointed by this game. And to be honest, I can understand why in some aspects, but really I think it's not that bad of a game. I think the major complaints were mainly, for me, the reuse, shameless reuse really, of environments in dungeons and caves. I think I've been through the same cave about 10 times during the course of the game, which I think is a bit lazy. And the fact that your choices don't really seem to affect too much of the world. Especially don't like how you cannot really be a bad guy this time around without other people walking all over you instead of you walking over them. Other than that, I think the gameplay has really been improved a lot, and the story isn't too bad either. Graphically, it's better. Overall, it's not an improvement, which it should have been, but definitely not a bad game. And if you're an RPG lover or even liked the original, I think you might get your money's worth buying Dragon Age 2. And if you're a console owner, this time around the game's geared towards you much more than the original, so it definitely comes highly recommended. Another game people have been looking forward to for quite some time before it came out was Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Capcom's sequel to the immensely popular fighting game crossover Marvel vs. Capcom 2. For 10 years, a lot of fans have been waiting for another chance to get at it and pull off combos with both their favorite characters from Capcom and Marvel, and this time around they're not going to be disappointed. Although some might complain about the simplified control scheme this game has, it still has a lot of depth left, and there's enough tactical depth to explore, and to become really good at the game is no small feat. Still, the game is mostly about combos and flashy gameplay. There's still the 3 versus 3 combat mechanic, which works pretty well, and is bound to entertain a lot of people who like that sort of thing and like their fighting more intense. Also, the character roster, though smaller, is quite good this time around, with a few excellent choices like Wesker from Resident Evil 5, Amaterasu from Okami, and Dormammu, and quite obscure but awesome Marvel character, and of course old favorites like Doctor Doom, or things like staples like Ryu, you name them. The game's pretty good. It's a well-rounded fighting game. I don't like it as much as Street Fighter 4, for example, but you should definitely give it a try, especially if you like these kind of games. Of course, you can read all about it in the review on our site. And with the risk of making it seem the last 3 months have been about nothing but sequels, I do want to end this segment with yet another sequel. And the sequel in a franchise people have been saying is devoid of evolution. Pun intended. Of course I'm talking about Pokemon. Pokemon Black and White at that. These games bring us to the Unova region with another 156 Pokemon to catch. And in single player mode you might want to ask yourself, what's really changed? Not much, but enough to provide another fun Pokemon game. Graphics have been improved, definitely. Sound slightly better, and interface have been changed for the better. But story-wise, the game's still not a very ambitious project. However, it's fun to play, and if you liked Pokemon before, you're sure to love it now. And if you've ever considered yourself to be part of the competitive Pokemon scene, then this is your time to shine, because even though the rules could use improvement, I really think Nintendo tried to deliver this time with the Wi-Fi settings and the way how they handle online competitive battling. So you really should check it out if you're into that.
Okay, first I want to start off with the game Milo. It's the game that is made and published by Southend, which is a company that's based in Sweden and founded 10 years ago, and made this little jewel for the mobile phone industry, which is a small game called Milo, which basically is about a mother and a father trying to get together in their fantasy worlds while searching for their childs. It's not like you're playing a real mother and father role. It's more like two little dolls in a 3D world running around on cubicles, and these cubicles are gravity related, so you can walk over those cubicles, and when it's allowed, you can just, go over the edge and you will not fall down.
Milo, that's a puzzle game, correct?
Yeah, it's a puzzle game. It's it's really fun. The thing is, well, when you walk over the cubicles, you run into obstacles. These obstacles need to be solved. For instance, you can pick up a certain cubicle, put it in your backpack, carry it along, put it on the empty space that's the void that's there, and you will walk over the void to get to the other end. So it's like bridge building.
So creative problem solving.
Yeah, it's really creative problem solving. And of course this one cubicle is an example, but there are loads of objects that you can pick up and solve the problems with.
Mm-hmm. I've heard you say Milo is a mobile phone platform game.
Yeah.
So it's for mobile phones. But I think I've seen it on Xbox Live.
That's absolutely true. The game started off originally to be a mobile phone Windows 7 game.
I see.
And I believe later they decided to put it on Xbox Live Arcade too. And I must say it's a pretty darn good decision that they made over there, because it's a very beautiful game. Although there's a very high cute factor involved in this game too.
Yeah, there is. I've seen it. It does look fun though.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely one to recommend.
Well, it's I can tell you one thing. It's a real brain cracker. Okay, Tom. Here's a question. Southend. Which game did they do more than Milo? Do you remember that one?
Southend. Aren't those the guys that did 13 back
Oh
in the day?
yeah, they are. They are. They were the guys behind 13.
But that wasn't an indie game.
No. And it's actually pretty fun to see the complete change of the attitude and the way they make the games. I mean,
it's a whole different game, this one, yeah.
Yeah, it's completely the opposite of 13.
It is.
Pretty interesting. Well, let's continue to the next one. Okay, let's talk about Chime. Chime is a really nice game that was developed by Zoe Mode and published by One Big Game. It first came out for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, later released on Steam for the PC. And it was a very, very good puzzling game. Kind of comparing this game to Tetris would not be the right thing, but you will get the feeling for it if Dirk, our video editor, will start a movie of the game right now, and I'm sure he will. what I wanted to talk about is the new update that the game got now. The Super Deluxe pack for the PlayStation 3, which has a really neat multiplayer and co-op mode, and not to forget some really awesome music tracks that go along with the game. So be sure to check out this little jewel of the Nile, and well, if you tried to play it, make sure your wife or your girlfriend is not in the neighborhood. She will be addicted. Don't tell anybody else. So anyway, let's continue and let's move on to the next game. See you later.
Another game I think we should talk about is Lit. Lit is a puzzle slash horror game that combines level-based puzzle elements with horror atmosphere.
Okay.
The idea is each level is represented by a classroom, a dark classroom, and you need to find light sources and activate them so you can travel through the lighted paths they create, so you can get to the end of the level and so on and so on.
It does sound interesting.
It does, I think. I heard of this game recently, quite a while back, and I got to play it just recently.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this is the kind of game that I would like to love.
Yeah.
But I can't. It's a bit too. It doesn't really have its own identity. I mean, is it a puzzle game? It certainly is a puzzle game. Pretty linear one at that, but it might get more difficult towards the end. Of course, I didn't play it all the way through. And is it really a horror game? Well, it's not scary.
So, what is the part that's not scary?
Well, first of all, I think I have no idea what actually happens in the game. I looked up what the game's all about. It's about this guy, some teenager, a high school kid, Jake, described by the developers as an slightly emo teenager. Not my words.
Okay.
And he tries to rescue his girlfriend from a possessed or some kind of dark, obsessed school.
Okay.
So it's corny, but it could work. It doesn't, I think.
So Tom, what's holding the game back then? Is it the graphics? Is it the sound effects? Is it the music? Or what? What's wrong with it?
Well, for one, it isn't the music. I think the music is kind of cool, actually. The sound effects aren't that great, especially the sound the monsters make. It's a bit corny. I could live with that, I guess. Graphics aren't up to par. They're kind of poor, even for a Wii game. And
it's 800 points, right?
Yeah, 800 points, yeah. And the problem here is that a game can be really successful with having bad graphics, but if you rely so much on atmosphere, as this game should, as its horror element is completely based upon its atmosphere, this game does not have not good enough graphics.
Yeah, so
they're not good enough.
So it's not really getting the horror effect that it should have had.
Not at all. It's like you re-release the original Resident Evil now and say, wow, look, this is the badass new horror game. It doesn't work.
It's pretty interesting.
They have to make up for that with other aspects, and it can't.
So Tom, so what about gameplay and a puzzle element? I mean, it's an 800-point game, so what can you expect for that money?
Well, first of all, I haven't played it all the way through. I have no idea how long it is. I believe it has 30 different classrooms, so that's 30 different puzzles, which I can only assume become more and more difficult, especially towards the end.
So that's pretty decent.
Yeah, I think you can get your value, your time value out of it. There's also bosses. I've been led to believe I haven't seen even a single boss. So far, I was quickly fed up with the game. The point is, puzzles, they are sort of okay as soon as you find out what you have to do. But it switches all this time between a third-person perspective and the first-person perspective.
And the third person is bird eye view? Or?
Yeah, it's from the top. You see it from helicopter view. So, bird eye. definitely. And when you switch to your slingshot, you can shoot in sort of first person. You see your character still, but you get the points from the back of your character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to shoot pellets through windows to create light paths, which is inventive, though a bit weird. But the puzzles start out simple. They might become more difficult, but I don't think it really warrants anything really astounding. It could have been so much better.
Yeah.
I think it's a waste because, like I said, I want to love this game, but as it is, it's just, I don't know. You get
Not up to par.
quickly bored. Yeah.
It's not up to par.
Unfortunately, I think with our limited time, we have to leave it at this. Of course, there are a lot of other indie games we would have liked to talk about, a lot of other games we could have recapped, and Dead Space 2 comes to mind. But we can't play everything, can we, Mike?
No, unfortunately we can't.
But we will see what comes around next time. In about 3 months, I think. I think it's E3 time around that time.
Oh yeah, E3 time, it definitely is. And after that, we got Gamescom. So all around that time, there will be some really massive news coming up.
That's very likely indeed. So either a future sight towards the E3 or a recap, whichever is appropriate at the time we bring out the next episode. For now, we have to leave it at this. So we'll see you next time at the next Square Vision.
See you guys later.